Hello and welcome to another DJ Force 10 in Conversation podcast, episode 123. My special guest today is Vincent. He is the frontman and guitarist of the band Theraphosa. They are just outside of Paris in France, and they've just released their brand new album last week called Transcendence, which is out now. So if you're a fan of Paradise Lost or Catatonia or anything like that, great sort of similarities to those, but they've got their own sound with that, and they've worked with some quality people in getting that sound as well, which we find out all in the interview on that front, so I'm not going to spoil anything else. I just want to thank you all for downloading the episodes last week. It's been muchly appreciated by me and the bands that were represented in that. This week we're going to go again with a podcast a day. We've got Chemist coming up tomorrow. I've got the band Royals on Wednesday, and I've got from Ashes to New, and then Jim Davies on Friday, and then we've got more next week as well, which we'll go into a bit later in the week. But yeah, keep subscribing, keep leaving scores and stuff like that and ratings. Really appreciate them all. Yeah, they've been going up slowly but gradually, and I can see them growing, and the stats and all that kind of stuff I'm keeping more of an eye on now, just to sort of see how far out this is going. And I appreciate everyone that's been listening. Yeah, I've got nothing but thanks for you all, really. But it's been good, and I'm going to hopefully keep this going during lockdown. We're going to see if we can get some more bands in, which shouldn't be a problem because you're all at home. But yeah, without further ado, welcome to this brand new week of podcasts, and this is Vincent from Theraphosa. Enjoy. Cool. I want to welcome Vincent to my show. He's in the band Theraphosa. They're about to release their new album called Transcendence. Welcome, Vincent.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, not a problem, man. Not a problem. Absolutely my pleasure. So yeah, like I just said, we're here to talk about your band and stuff and new album. But what I want to do is get a little bit of background on you guys first, because I'm going to be perfectly honest, it's the first time I've heard of you guys through your press agents and whatnot, some of the music. But I really dig it. I really love the Curse of Kronos, which it's a great track, and it's actually made me go back and listen to your first EP as well, which is great as well. But yeah, I just want to get some sort of like your journey so far as a band, because yeah, I just want to sort of get a bit of background on you guys, really.
Yeah, so, well, if I have to start at the beginning, we are in the band. Originally, there are two brothers, so it's me and Matthew. Mm-hmm. But we started this band when we were very young. Like, I was 16, 17, and the other guys were 12. Okay. So we grew up in a music family, so to speak.
Yep.
They were my father was a musician, and same for my uncle. So when we were young, we were often in the middle of conversations about music. So it was fascinating to us.
Yeah.
And for example, my uncle, he often told us his memories about his band in the 80s, and we were hooked up by that. And yeah, I guess this has helped to build a fascination for music, and so we went into it. I was the first to start playing guitar and discovering new stuff, rock, metal, and etc. Yeah. And I have always wanted to form a band, but the thing is that it was very hard for me, because I wanted to do something with trustworthy people.
Yeah.
And it is kind of hard to find people who will be, how can I say that? I mean, who will stay with you for a long time, because when you start a band, you want to do something that can can go through time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to build something professional, so I don't. It's just not. It's not just a hobby for me. It's a real passion, and I want to make. I want to live with music. So
yeah.
So my brother, he joined the band by himself. He started to play the bass, and at that time he was very, very close. Well, he still is, but they were very young, so he was very close to the drummer.
Yeah.
They were all the time together. So one day I just asked my brother's friend if he wanted to play with us. And the thing is that luckily he has taken some percussion lessons when he was very, very young. So it was kind of natural to put him on the drum, you know?
Yeah.
So we started like that in 2007, and we just enjoyed playing together, and more and more we were thinking we gotta do something. I mean, we wanted to do something professional.
Yes.
Seriously.
Yeah.
So we tried to do a few gigs here and there, and we made a few demos, but the real starting point was when we met our good friend now, which is Denis Gorias. He's a French photographer.
Yep.
And he did the photographies for the band, and thanks to him we met Jan Rekberger, who is the drummer for Amorphis.
Yep.
And luckily Jan liked the music we were doing at that time, and we wanted to do a brand new EP, something more evolved, compared to what we were doing before. And so it was the perfect time to do something, and we asked him if he was willing to do it with us, and he said yes. So this was the real starting point. We went to Finland.
Amazing.
And we record the 5 tracks for the EP in Helsinki.
Yep.
So that was a great experience. And then, well, there were a few reviews here and there, and we thought, okay, now we have the EP.
Yep.
But we need to provide something more in depth, with more content. So we have to work on the debut album, and so for this time we made it in France because our publisher knew someone, and he thought this guy might be the right guy for the job, and he was right. We worked with Francis Cast in Paris. So he's the guy who made the records with French bands like Regarde les Hommes Tombés, or Hangman's Chair.
Yep. And the great ones.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, I've heard his name before, and he's very good.
Yeah. He's very good. He's very friendly, and we had an amazing contact with him. He instantly got the spirit of our band, and it was a real pleasure to work with him. So we are very pleased with the result of the album right now. And that's for the background, I would say.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's good. I wanted to sort of ask what it was like to work with Francis Caste, because I'd heard his name before, and I'm aware of like Hangman's Chair and the bands you mentioned, basically, on that front. And it's good to hear that it was a good experience for you guys, because I've sort of been asking bands a lot recently about like when they're working with producers and how they take their input, because I know there's a few bands that have like specific visions about what they want, but then they get like, if a producer kind of like gives their input on it, they either take it or they don't, kind of thing, and it sort of builds a relationship from there. But I was just sort of curious how that was with you guys. Like, was he sort of like hands on with you guys, or was he very much, this is your vision, I'll record you, I'll make you sound good, or did he give you some sort of like just sort of like helpful like tips and stuff?
Well, in a way, I would say in any recordings there is always a moment where the producer gives you his advices or what he thinks about your music. But with Francis, it was honestly very, very cool, because we said, okay, this is what we do, because we sent him demos before, homemade demos. And so he listened to them and he said, okay, I got the spirit of the music. So he said, what kind of sound do you want? And I'm going to help you to make it.
Amazing.
And so it was very, it was non-intrusive, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It was within the spirit of what you were doing.
Yeah, and sometimes he had some ideas that were very cool. So, because I think there is always something in the studio. Sometimes you have your tracks that are very, they are completed, final.
Yeah.
But in fact, there is some magic stuff that happened in the studio, and then you realize, okay, maybe we can do it differently. And with Francis, this happened sometimes. So he gave us some ideas or some how could I say? Yeah, some guides, you know.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it made us think about the songs that were technically done. But yeah, okay, we said, yeah, maybe we should do this differently. And he was just the perfect guy for that, because he was not intrusive, just saying, yeah, this is good, and what do you think of this? And then, okay, we tried, that. So sometimes we made 50-50, you know, his ideas that shared with ours, and it makes something a common new stuff, you know, common new idea. But basically, it was a real good experience, because he did not break the process. He did not came and say, this is not cool, you know.
Yeah.
He was very, very, very nice.
That's awesome.
Non-intrusive. I would say that's the word.
Excellent. No, that's really good. No, it's really good to hear. Because not that I've heard bad producers. I was just always curious about the sort of process you guys go through. In as much as when a producer comes in and sort of tinkers with things and various things. Obviously, they have a sort of wealth of experience behind them as well. So it's great that you guys can work with that as well. So I was just curiosity on that front. But let's talk about your the album itself. It is as we're recording this, it is out tomorrow. This interview will go out, I think, probably on Monday. I think it is. So it's going out after the release of your album, but it is out. Let's just say it's out. So yeah, let's talk through the album itself, because, like I say, you've released the track off it already called "The Curse of Kronos," which is this what got me into you guys. So it's a fantastic track. I really like it. What else can you sort of tell us about the album? Like, is there sort of an underlying storyline going through it, or is it just a collection of sort of stories that you have?
That's a tough question, because there is, it's not really a storyline.
Okay.
But there is a kind of a concept behind it. That's why it's called Transcendence. So the idea was to, how can I say that? Yeah, the idea was to give our vision of what Transcendence is.
Yep.
Given the fact that Transcendence is an already very old concept. That's something we did not invent it. It's you can find it in religion, in old texts from Greece, you know.
Yep.
And there is also a vision of Transcendence which is related to the 19th century writers or philosophers. So it's a blend of different visions from the guys within the band.
Yeah.
And but basically there is kind of always that's the interesting part. There is also always a double meaning. There is always two visions that are confronting, because, for example, me and my brother, we don't have the same vision of Transcendence. So we try to make something that can be understood by everyone, and that can be interpreted by everyone their own way.
Yep.
So that's basically it's a blend of philosophical and religious concepts.
Okay.
I would say we blend it with our vision.
Excellent. No, I mean, I've only heard that one track. Unfortunately, I haven't yet heard the full album, but I will be listening to that tomorrow when it's released. I'll get it on the old streaming services, so I'll be able to sort of play that out for myself. So, but yeah, no, looking through some of the sort of like song titles, I do have that in front of me, like The Morning Star and Mother's Night, all that kind of stuff. It does have that kind of like within the names that I'm kind of looking at. It does have, like what you're saying, that kind of like mix of like let's say religious transcendence, stuff like that, and all those sort of like those sort of like philosophies and things like that from it. What sort of let's try, it's probably, I don't know if this is going to be a great question. Is there any tracks on there that you're particularly looking forward to people hearing, or is it just the whole piece you're kind of like more excited about?
I personally, I think that the listener should look at the album as one thing.
Okay.
But I have my favorite tracks in terms of guitar playing or singing or melodies. For example, I would say mine is Mother Night.
Yep.
Because there is a great guitar work inside this track, and I just simply like to sing it.
Cool.
But yeah, I think people should look at this album as a whole thing, because every tracks are different. So that's something we have always wanted to do, is make each track easily identifiable. I don't know if the word is correct, but you can recognize each track instantly, because they have different purposes, different meanings, even though it's linked to the whole concept of the album.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I look forward to hearing it. So yeah, no, honestly, I do. I like I said, I really dug your first EP, and I really like the single that you've released off of this as well. So otherwise I wouldn't be talking to you, to be perfectly honest with you. So, but no, I'm looking forward to it, and the fact that it's sort of like it's kind of different from my usual kind of sort of like sounds. I mean, I'm into sort of like various styles of music, as most people are, but this one it took me to a place like it was very very relaxing, I think is the word I like. It's I don't know if that was your aim for it, but it's that's fine. That's fine. Excellent. No, but because when I go through and I listen to these songs and stuff, I have them on a playlist, but your one's really like stuck out amongst a lot of the stuff I was listening to. So no, that's really cool, because it's different from what I normally listen to. But I am into that sort of like the Paradise Lost sound and stuff like that, and things like that, which you guys kind of have. What is your where would you say your influences lie? Because there's quite a mixture of sounds in there. Where are your sort of like where do your inspiration come from?
So the thing is that in the band we have each member have different influences. Yeah. And for example, I'm more of a black metal guy, or I would say dark things, dark sounds, dark atmospheres. But I also love I also love classical music, and because I think it's the pinnacle of music writing.
Yes.
So I think my influences are that kind of stuff, but I also like very technical stuff like Meshuggah. It's one of my favorite bands. And for example, the drummer is more into electronic stuff, and my brother he can listen to basically everything.
Yeah.
So as a band, the influences are mixed, but we try to please everyone. So I would say there is the dark atmospheres that you can find in black metal or in dark ambience.
Yeah.
And there is the groove part, the technical part that you can find in Meshuggah, for example.
Yep.
And there is the melodic part, and the writing. How can I say it? The fact of wanting to write something perfectly, I would say, that you can find in classical music or even in more modern stuff. For example, I love Ghost because I think every song are very well written. So yeah, I think all of these are what makes the band, in terms of music.
No, that's really cool because, like you mentioned, like the sort of like darker side of things, like the black metal, the sort of like classical music as well. And Ghost was one of the sort of bands I had actually noted down as sort of I like to sort of like not compare bands, but sort of maybe see if I can pick out the influences here and there. But that, I things like Paradise Lost, which kind of fall into like that kind of like dark and melodic side of things as well. But yeah, no, Ghost, the fantastic band they are actually. Totally surprised me they do, because they don't look like how they sound. That's the one thing that I really like about them. It's just like, oh my god, they look like a black metal band or that sort of style. And you hear them, and they've just got melodies. They've got like just like
it's catchy.
It's catchy. Yeah, exactly that. It's kind of like a pop music type thing, but not quite.
Yeah,
it's that real like thing. And the sort of influence of classical music as well, which I'm always interested in, especially when it comes to sort of like metal projects, is they're very closely entwined. I've spoken to various musicians from like prog rock ones and stuff like that, and just sort of like classic musicians from back in the day that are still sort of like doing stuff now. And classical plays a massive part in them. I spoke to who did I speak to recently? Gus G. Of Firewind and all that lot. And he's very much influenced by that sort of classical music as such. And you can really hear that in his guitar playing because it's that kind of very technical side of things. But I always find that fascinating because it's sort of like I listen to classical music, and then whenever I get the sort of like moment of like comparison, if I like, you see the structure in certain songs. Classical music really does put it up there. And that's something we realized it even more with my brother when we went to a music. What's the term? University. Oh yes.
We study music, musicology, and stuff like that.
Okay.
So we studied the classical music, and then at that moment you realize that you know nothing in music.
Yep.
and you realize how rich it is and how powerful it is.
Yes.
So when you start to pick every little details in one classical music piece,
Yep.
That's. I mean, for us, it was a game changer. I mean, we were doing music more with instinct,
Yeah.
And then when we discovered all that stuff, it was I don't know how to explain it, but it was a new word,
Yes.
So, and that made me think even more of the writing process of the songs. So yeah, classical music is an incredible tool, and it is entwined in everything, just like you said.
Yeah, definitely. I likened it because I went through the same sort of process as a sort of young kid, and hearing it, it's like I likened it to sort of discovering a new color, if you will. Yeah. Like, and it does, because it's like, oh my god, like, because like when you're a young kid, you kind of, unless you're sort of like told early on, you sort of see or hear this classical music and think, oh, it's old people's music. It's for the elderly, it's for the, whatever. Yeah. And this is when, you're young, dumb, and whatever. But as you get older and, like, you learn more about structures of songs and the sort of, like, the integral parts of like, it goes into, like, everything, like we said. And I found it, especially with, like, not just metal, because metal, you can go full symphonic with that. But even dance music, like the electronic dance music that dominate the clubs and stuff like that. You've got that, you've got the rhythms, you've got the sort of like little sounds in the background that you can have. So if you like, what I found was when I was listening to classical music and I listened to then go back and then you analyze, say, something by some electronic artist or something like just generic dance music, there are elements in them that you can like pick out and you think, oh wow, I didn't hear that before. All I heard before was the beat and the bass.
Yeah.
But then you start picking out, especially with metal as well, you can hear the little guitar licks, you can hear the sort of like little bits of synthesizer or whatever, or keyboards, you can hear the little drum rolls, the little flicks, the little hits and stuff like that. And it's just, like I said, it's like discovering a new color. It just bang, your mind goes like,
that's exactly that. And that's the layering of all these little details that make the song richer,
Yeah, exactly.
So you then you at the first listen you may not understand everything, but then if you listen to it even more, then you start to pick up the little details, and then you realize the complexity of the song or the richness of the song.
Yep. Exactly.
And this is very, for example, this is why I love Ghost, because I think Ghost does that brilliantly.
Yes.
So
yeah. Cool. Well, I've got a couple of questions left for you, Vincent, if that's all right. Then I can let you get on with the rest of your evening. Not there's probably much left of it. I don't know if you're a night owl or not, but you're an hour ahead of us, aren't you? There, so you're all
It is 9:20.
9:20, yeah, cool. So this is sort of like again, it kind of falls into the sort of influence side of things, but these are kind of this question right here is a sort of what I want to find out are 3 albums that influenced you to be the musician that you are. So the kind of like, I know you mentioned earlier, like you grew up in a musical family, so picking up an instrument was kind of like probably second nature to you, but was there any particular album or song that really kind of pushed you on that front?
Do you mean personally, like me?
Yes.
Not the band?
No, just you.
There's a lot of albums, but I would say the first thing is probably the first record my father made me listen to. It's AC/DC, Highway to Hell.
Nice.
This is honestly the first time I've discovered hard rock, and that was the first thing that made me go through the path of rock, metal, and etc.
Nice. That's a good starting point.
Yeah. Then I would say the second band that was very important to me, it was Slipknot, because I was like 14, and Slipknot was the band that was the gateway to metal for me.
Nice.
That was the first band that made me basically go into the world of metal, and then from there I started to discover more stuff like black metal and etc. Yeah. Slipknot, Iowa was the second album that made me want to go more and more in depth with metal and even more play the guitar, because I've started playing guitar with AC/DC basically.
Yeah.
So and the last album, I would say, there's a lot of but okay. I gotta say, Gorgoroth Ad Majorem Satanas Gloriam, which is there are tracks in this album like Carving a Giant or Sign of an Open Eye that are that made me fall in love with the dark, the dark side of everything basically. Yeah. And I can't end this without saying Meshuggah, because Meshuggah was a real. Honestly, it was like having a slap in my face,
Yeah, they do that to a lot of people.
I was like, how is this even possible?
Yeah.
And so that's the kind of music that makes you push further. They basically, to me, made something that seemed impossible. They made it possible.
Yeah.
So that as a musician, that makes you want to work more and more to gain even more level. Skills.
Yeah.
I would say all these bands.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, with Meshuggah, like what you mentioned in there, it was they do push the envelope. They really they're one of the bands, like you say, is one of the ones that want to make you try harder, because now you can go that far.
Yeah.
with it. And they've influenced an entire genre of bands, to be honest with you. And they continue to do so. It's not like they've really kind of, stopped as such, but it's just, they're one of those bands that is on the initial sort of like side of things can be quite difficult for a lot of people to get into. With all the different rhythms and stuff like that, a lot of people get kind of put off. But if you're in a sort of like more of a sort of like technical minded, or you have that kind of like feel about you really start getting into it. And then again, it's like that classical music thing. You can go into their music and you pick out all the little like little bits that make the music that it is. But the sort of the rhythms they're going at, the speed they're going at as well, is absolutely insane. But yeah, AC/DC, again, fantastic album. There's not much I can say about that one. It's a great rock album. Slipknot, I love Slipknot. From the first time I heard them, from the first time I saw them live, I've been a fan for, how long is it now? Must be 20 plus years now, I think, roughly. Because I was sort of like, I got in on the first album. I was probably 18, 19 years old, so... and I saw them live in London, and they just blew me away. Like, absolutely insane live shows, and they are a gateway sort of metal band to a lot of like of the darker side of things as well, which is really good. Obviously if you think that is a good thing. But that Iowa album, in fact, it was like, I mean, the first album was pretty brutal. But that Iowa album was a different level. It was kind of, it had that brutality, but it had that kind of like real dark side to it as well. A lot of like playing with like just sort of like atmospheric sounds and stuff like that, and really kind of like grinding into that kind of like that cerebral part. And then I can see how that would lead to your last choice there as well. So it's certainly good. And I mean, at the time of the Slipknot, I was in a sort of new metal band myself at that point, and I was the DJ in that band. So I kind of followed along the way of Sid in this case. But yeah, no, it was just they're highly influential on me as well, so that's good. But AC/DC, I love AC/DC. But yeah, no, that's all good, man. I was just also curious of what you kind of do, sort of away from music, what your sort of hobbies are or anything like that.
So, well, I'm often doing music stuff in reality. But when I'm not, I love that can be strange, but I love flight simulators, basically military flight simulators. So I love to get in a plane virtually and turn it on, know every details about it and fly it. But I also basically playing video games nice. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, no, that's good. I guess.
No, that's good. I mean, I had many years ago, I had the Microsoft Flight Simulator system on a PC I built. I built a PC, I had multiple screens and all that kind of stuff. And I started like doing stuff like that as well, and that was really good fun. I haven't done it for quite a while, to be honest with you, because I've never had a setup really that would run it efficiently. But no, I love flight sim. I love that sort of like almost semi-realism. And if the world went to shit and push came to shove, I could potentially fly a plane. So
exactly.
So, which might be a good thing at the moment. I don't know.
I've always wanted to. Even with other games, I'm always trying to find the most realistic stuff. So, for example, I play games that are. Some of my friends, they just don't get it, like car mechanic simulator. Yep. So I thought, okay, I'm going to try to fix an engine just to see how it works. I love that kind of thing. And basically simulators, I like it, and and video games in more generally, I would say.
Yeah, what's your sort of favorite video games at the moment? What are you playing?
Okay, so right now I'm playing the classic World of Warcraft.
Nice.
But I like also some racing games. So right now I'm playing Formula One games and racing simulators like iRacing. Yeah. Which so stuff like that, and the flight simulators. I'm always playing the same games. I don't really try other games unless it is very specific. For example, I like the games like The Last of Us or that kind of stuff that are, I think, experience more than video games. You know?
Yeah. So
that's kind of a journey.
Yeah. So you kind of have that bit more immersive. You like the immersive games. Yeah, where you can kind of really, like, obviously World of Warcraft, you're in a character there, but yeah, like the F1 games, they're quite technical minded, and you sort of get into that sort of feel of things. And like you say, with the simulators you're playing as well, it's like, you know, you are fully getting into it. And The Last of Us is a fantastic game as well. It's very, again, it's like a movie. You get fully invested in the characters and everything. And obviously you help them along their way in their journey into the, like, you know, the game and everything as well. So you have that kind of like bit more of an attachment to them and stuff like that. So no, that's awesome. That is awesome. Thank you very much for that. But Vincent, that is it. I've come to the end of my my sort of like questions and things like that about everything. So I just want to thank you for your time, really. I really do appreciate it. Good luck with your album. On that front. Yeah,
I want to thank you for having me, having the opportunity to talk about the music. And
Awesome. Well, that's been absolutely my pleasure, man. Like I said, I look forward to hearing the album tomorrow. So I'm going to be tuning into that. I've got it saved on my Apple Music system. So
all right,
I'm gonna get that out tomorrow once I get back into my studio and crack on with. I usually have stuff on in the background when I'm working, so I'll definitely have that on. But yeah, again, like I say, thank you, and good luck and everything. And I hope you guys are all safe in France at the moment with everything that's going on with pandemic.
Yeah, we are all living together, so
that's good.
That's kind of it's very special thing here. We all live together. There is the drummer, my brother, the whole family, and we have the studio in the house, so we don't need to go out.
Okay.
We just have to stay here and play. So basically, that's good for us.
That's awesome. I'm glad to say you're not like on your own or anything, or your band's separated out or anything, because
no.
You know, like I say, at this time it's really weird. I'm having a weird time here. I mean, I've got my family and everything, but we're not allowed to go out, or we are, but for like just to shop or exercise. But no, it's just I didn't know what it was like in France, because I've kind of been ignoring the news, because I'm finding it very oppressing, I think is the word. But no, I'm glad to hear that you're all right, and that things are, you know, as they are everywhere else, I guess, at the moment.
Yeah, so. I think that's the same thing everywhere. You see, Paris is empty. Like, I've never seen Paris like that. There is no one in the streets.
Yeah,
that's impressive.
It is.
But yeah, to us it doesn't change that much, because we have always been the guys, you know, that stay home. That we never really go out unless it is necessary.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So we are kind of I don't know what's the word for that in English, but you know, the guys who lives in caves.
Oh yes, like a hermit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what we are, basically.
Life hasn't changed for you. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, not that much.
Cool. Well, like I say, Vincent, thank you very much, man. Have a good rest of your evening. No worries. Have a good rest of your evening, and take it easy.
Yeah. Thank you, man, and I hope to see you one day.
Yes, obviously, if you ever come over to England, then I'll try and be there. I'm sort of in and around London, but I do go over to France a few times if they're allowing travel. Then if you guys are playing, then I'll definitely try and find a way to get there. So,
all right,
cool.
Thanks a lot, man.
No worries, man. Have a good one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good evening. Bye.
Bye.